process, can't you see? With the platform so smooth, keeps the workflow tight. Efficiency and value, that's every single night. Risk profiles, they got 'em, man, it's no joke. North America's the stage and they never choke. Metrics on point, updated without fail. Chameleon carriers, they're on the trail. Don't play with unsafe companies, don't be that guy. eCarrierChecks, keeping it safe under the sky. 40 plus filters with the search that can drive carrier information in the FMCSA archive. Find your carrier with precision and needs. Location, equipment feeds. They got the keys. FTL shipper leads. They're right there for you. Real-time authorities, what they do. Crazy, breezy, ultimates. The dashboards way freedom from low boards. They got it every day. eCarrierCheck's the architect leading the way.
Hey, good morning, Jared and Nate at eCarrierCheck. Just bringing it to you live. You know what I mean? It's Wednesday, hump day in the week. It's been a fun-filled week. I know you've been sick, Nate.
Yeah,
how's the world, man?
It's came down with the sickness, man. But we're getting better. We're back here. You know, it feels like a Monday today to me, but you know, I'm back here to kind of get things rolling.
Just break it down.
Let's see how we can help some people in this industry. Just kind of grow their company, man. Yeah. I'm excited. I always love these shows.
Yeah. The ultimate goal with our platform here at YouTube is, and eCarrierCheck, is we want to help educate. We want to help grow. We want to be positive. And we just want to help people.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some news that I thought was interesting. I want to get your thoughts on this is, Estes, the LTL carrier at Old Dominion, are in a bidding war for Yellow's terminal.
Oh, wow.
It was like $1.5 billion.
So
they're to buy their terminals.
So they're not fighting, but they're bidding on these terminals, and all that money's being thrown around.
Yeah. Did they list those on eBay? How do those conversations start?
Yeah. Like, where do you go? I want to go see how these bids are going.
Exactly. I'm sitting there going, I'm like, wait a minute, are they putting this on eBay? What's going on? Like, how do you even start these conversations? Hey, you want to buy all our trucking terminals?
Yeah.
Insane. I love that. The aftermath of the big beast falling over is obviously this. I'm sure you'll see some bidding war for some of their equipment, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe it's just the terminal aspect of things, but
that's fair.
Kind of interesting news that came out earlier this week. It's a lot of cash.
Yeah, it's a lot to process too. I mean, a lot of stuff going on there.
Absolutely. So I'll give you a couple things, from a Q&A perspective. Obviously, anyone watching, please, raise your hand and ask some questions. Love to help and break down, some life, help you out with your business.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a couple things that I got some questions on. Phone's ringing pretty much constantly when you're out, which I appreciate you. I don't tell you that enough.
Oh, thank you.
But a couple people were like, hey, I'm working through your system and I'm really trying to figure out, how do I know if they're working with freight brokers or not?
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't even know if we have eCarrierCheck up or not. We do. Okay. But, I took them in and I said, well, hey, let me show you this because I think this is really important. Everybody right now is trying to find shippers, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody right now is trying to claw and fight and keep their business going. Yep. I'm sure your revenues are down, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you look at even the Knight Swift, they put out their finances because they're a publicly traded company. Last quarter they were down hundreds of millions of dollars. They're one of the largest truckload. Hey, good morning. Missouri heading to Kansas. I love that. What are you hauling? I never asked you this, Brian. What are you hauling, man? I'd love to hear what you're hauling.
And Tire Killer, I really appreciate you. I was looking at some of our videos from a year ago, and you are still in the comments for a year ago, man. You are consistent. I appreciate you. I love you, man.
Number one fan.
Number one, man. It's crazy.
Number one fan.
And don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that get on that don't comment that I really appreciate you guys too as well. Really do. But
absolutely.
It's awesome. So,
I feel like Brian should be like, instead of Tire Killer, like Santa tracking, we should have Tire Killer tracking.
Yeah.
Like it's just out there. You're hauling steel coils. Do you tarp those? Yeah. I wonder if he tarps them. Do you tarp them? I think you have to have tarps. And then do you have cradles too? I'd be curious if you have cradles in that world. I'm sure you're driving down the road and watching our show, and I appreciate that. But anyway, so the guy comes in and says, hey, I need some quick hits. I need to find some shippers that make sense for me to be calling. This guy actually, this is kind of interesting. He's about 6 months in.
Okay.
He had 3 clients. Sometimes tarp. Yeah, that's fair. Do you have cradles? Let me know if you have cradles. So he's 6 months in. He's got a few accounts.
Okay.
They're not overly consistent, but he's getting 7 to 15 loads a month from those shippers that he's brought on.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I know that's not overly consistent, but he even said, he goes, if I can get 2 more shippers, I'm set. So he just subscribed to eCarrierCheck. He subscribed about 2.5 weeks ago. He already has a client. He got a client right off our aspect, but he noticed that we can sort it by the hiring index. Didn't understand the hiring index. And so I was like, you know what, we're going to talk about this on the Q&A because it's really important for people to understand, hey, how do we get our data? Right. But how do we get this data? Because this is even deeper.
It is.
And take us through that, because this is even deeper.
Yeah, it's really deep. We're seeing some bill laden leads here. So what you're seeing are, the names were taken off, where we're seeing that information as far as where we see their shipment going. Yeah. And then you mentioned it, the hiring index. How do we know if these shippers are utilizing freight brokers? Yeah. Well, if you look through some of this data we have, especially for a shipper you're prospecting, well, we can give you a good feel of what carriers they're hiring. You'll know this answer. Would a shipper, maybe mid-sized, maybe smaller, maybe even large, but would they spend the time building relationships with one power unit carriers, sporadic throughout the U.S.? No. So that, to me,
they don't have time for that.
Exactly. So that, to me, is a sign saying, hey, they're probably using freight brokers. Yeah. Unless all those carriers are calling to get set up directly. Right. But you see where I'm going with that.
I doubt, especially if those shippers are from one geographic area, right, and all those carriers are from all over the place.
Exactly.
And that's not the case.
Right. And a couple of things that I was watching those old videos. One of the things that you love to utilize on some of those phone calls, those live calls you made, was the blue on the map there. You could see where they're moving some of their freight. Yeah. And if they're going into the areas that you like have a niche in, or maybe your carriers love to go, that's a pretty good lead to be kind of prospecting. Yeah. Good.
And I'll give you an example of how to use that in just tangible real world, right? Yeah. The one other thing, just so I don't forget, because I have ADD terrible. Yeah. Is make sure after I'm done with this random story is show him the sort by, because that's what he was wanting to.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. If I'm on the phone with, scroll down for me. Let me see if I can find one here. Let's do Lopez Foods. Okay. No, let's not do Lopez Foods. Let's do J3 Distributor. Man, I can't see. I need to get new contacts.
You can make both for that.
So let's talk about J3. There you go. Now we can talk about it. They're using vans and reefers, and they really, for the most part, are through the Corn Belt, a little bit of South Central, and then, the Southeast, right? And so when I'm calling here, I don't necessarily have to say, I got a guy in your area. Yeah. What you can say is, hey, I want you to know that I specialize in primarily, the East Coast, but primarily from Chicago area down to Florida, right? Or Chicago down to Texas, or vice versa.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's how you use that tangibly in a sentence is, hey, I got a map. I'm doing vans and reefers right down in the Texas area, and I'd like to see if there could be an opportunity. Right?
Exactly. But before you start all that, and we'll go to the sort by here, but you obviously want to complete your prospecting as far as finding out where their headquarters is at, right? Yep. And that'll help you with that absolutely, what you just mentioned.
Absolutely. So, the other thing that's really unique in here, so do the sort by, but I want to talk about how you can actually sort it by that geographic map as well.
Okay. So you want to do the hiring index? So, I know that one guy mentioned that. So, how we can sort from highest to lowest.
I love that.
And then think of it this way, as you start going back in these leads, the numbers will start going down. Yeah. So
the other aspect of this too is, just for the sake of it, if you provide enough value and consistency, and your timing is right, in my opinion, you can get into any shipper in the country, right? Timing, value, consistency. Those 3 things have to add up, and you got a new client,
100%. Right? Yep.
Timing, some people are into, RFQs or contracts, or guess what? They've got 3 brokers that they love. Jeff has that wonderful sales line. Hey, I know you work with, those freight brokers, and you're very consistent with them. All I'm offering you is that I've seen a 10% drop throughout the Southeast, or his area, and I'd like an opportunity to quote you. That line works really
I
well.
love it.
I honestly, I've used it a lot. I used it last time I did sales calls, but I also was with the brokerage here and was helping them, and we did that line. Phenomenal line.
Yeah.
Phenomenal line.
Yeah. Shout out to Jeff.
Real quick, but go down and sort it by like West Coast. Let's say that you love the West Coast. Take a look at this.
So operating region.
Yeah, just do West Coast.
Oops. Let's try.
Maybe there's some, maybe there isn't, right? I don't even know where you're out of. Let's just take a look.
We are in Houston, so that's probably why.
Oh, that might be let's just do just Rocky Mountain or something. You know what I mean? No? I wonder if this isn't working here. Weird. Yeah. And we'll have to come back to that. Yeah. But I know that you can sort it. There we go. I know that you can sort it by those areas, because for me, I was niched between the Rockies and the Mississippi and between Canada and Mexico.
Right.
I knew that area, and I know a lot of carriers in that area. I had great relationships with shippers in that area, and that was kind of so it's important that you're able to do that. I don't know if there's any Q&A or questions that are coming in while we're sitting over here, but any questions, feel free to do that. Hey, you goat, what's up, man? Hey, Jared, hey, it's good to see you. Nate is the goat, man. This guy's incredible. Any questions?
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. Coil racks with 4x4s. I love that. I love that. Honestly, something that's really interesting. Let's just break it. I want to break down something about Tire Killer real quick.
Okay.
Go back to our site though.
Yeah.
The other day I was helping a guy, and he wanted to find people that were hauling really specific types of shipments.
Okay.
He didn't want to find somebody off the board. He wanted to find a carrier that knew what he was doing.
Okay. And
I'll give you an example. Is I was asking Tire Killer, do you have coils? Right. Do you have, tarps? Right. Do you, what are these things, right? Mm-hmm. And let's just jump in his world for just a second. But let's say that I'm looking for, just go to Chicago, look for a carrier in Chicago, flatbed in Chicago. And I want you to look for the commodity keyword of like coils.
I see where you're going with this. So we're going to search commodity keyword search.
And what's this doing real quick?
So this, I love this. So what this is going to do, if you hover over these images on these carriers, you see how you'll see how like at the bottom it says general freight, right? So that's just the commodity. Let me scroll down here. General freight. So what we want to do is find carriers that essentially are saying, oh, they're doing coils.
Right.
So that's what our goal is here.
Yeah. See how this cat, he's doing coils, metals. Kind of an interesting, aspect here.
And I didn't even add any equipment. I just did
just commodity. Do coil for that matter.
You can
just try coil and see if that changes.
And you can see how you play around.
It's the same thing. But you see where I'm going with that. You can find those carriers that have that ability to
right.
If you called them, most likely they've got the cradles, they've got the proper tarping, they
got an idea.
They haven't lost a friggin' coil off the back of their truck or split a truck in half, right? Which I've seen, by the way.
Yep. So it's a very handy search. I love that search, by the way. But yeah, anything else to add?
No. I just wanted to throw that out there.
I did have a quick, let me make sure there's no questions still. But, we talked about, and we'll touch base on it for like a second, then we'll move on. But, we had a user call in last week, and she was telling me about how a carrier called in, had the wrong equipment, or the number was different. And now I know I blurred it out. You can't see the phone number, but make sure that the numbers are matching up on those carriers that call in from the load boards, and make sure that they're calling in, on the right equipment. Sometimes those double brokers out there will rent equipment or get some sort of inspection to make you think, oh, hey, this guy's legit. You know what I mean? So make sure you're looking at the equipment on those carriers, the phone numbers, the emails, all that matches up whenever a carrier calls off from the load board. It's important to vet them. Yeah,
it really is. I mean, I know that, if they have an inspection, it gives you the ability to go, okay, maybe they're okay, right?
Right.
But pay attention to, this is probably why our classifier is really important. Mm-hmm. Let's just go back to the outside real quick.
Yep.
My mouse here. If this cat calls in, he's showing van, right? If this cat calls in, now he does have experience with flatbed or coils or what it's looking like as coils, right?
Coils,
But if this cat calls in and he says that he has a different type of equipment than maybe what we're thinking, you might do a little more research. And this is why we have that magnifying glass up there. And we can see, hey, wait a minute, this guy actually, if we Googled Cali Transportation, let's just go into them. I'm assuming we'll find, here's their website. It looks like they've got a flatbed back there, right? No, they got vans, right? So we're showing them as a classified van carrier. For some odd reason, they're hauling coils, which I used to have a buddy that hauled coils and vans. But you can see, here's what they do. They're doing a little LTL. They got, straight trucks, lift gates, 53s and 48s, air ride trailers. So that represents them well. If they call in on a flatbed load, you might think about it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the difference here is that we're going to show you if they're a straight truck company. If a straight truck company calls in and says, I'm going to do a 40-foot hotshot load or a flatbed load, might be a red flag.
You sure about that?
Yeah. It might be a red flag. So, honestly, it really is important that, people are taking the time to vet. There's so much fraud, so much double brokering. Even like the sense of, getting, a dispatcher that can communicate properly and that actually is giving it to the carrier. They're saying there's some craziness with that as well.
Right. And, a part of me is like taking me back to my high school days, right? Well, here's the homework. The teacher's giving you the homework. Make sure you read the homework. And before making the call to work with that carrier or maybe taking that test, make sure you're doing your homework. I was not the very best student. I'm like, oh, here's the stuff I got to review and here's the test. Well, I didn't read everything, right? I didn't read it thoroughly. I didn't do so well on the test. Same thing on here. Make sure you're reading everything thoroughly. You're looking at all the details before you hire that carrier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, we got to do it.
My favorite, I love this. I love that you said this. So we had a teacher, I would have been in 8th grade or 9th grade. I didn't really care for him, to be honest with you. But he had age of equipment is important as well. An older trailer that's been hauling coils has higher the possibility of the failure due to frame stress. Yeah, honestly, I've seen some coils like break in half and stuff. Like there's some crazy videos out there where people are trying to load coils and your trailer just goes.
Oh, shit.
I've even seen that with a van trailer. I had a buddy that actually was hauling van. He was hauling coils in a van, which are these lighter weight ones. And, I think they spaced like 5 of them through the van trailer. And they're just these little coils like this, And it literally broke that van in half on the way to the receiver. It was insane. So interesting tidbit there. I love that. But my favorite, 8th grade, 9th grade, worst teacher ever. I hated the friggin' teacher. But he gave us this assignment and said we had to write a 10-page report. And it was this huge book of what we had to cover on. And so, everyone's stressing, everyone's doing it. And I turned in a 10-page paper, stressed about it for, I probably did it the last week, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Right. I turned in this report and it was so interesting. I got an F on that paper. And he comes around and he has the instructions stapled to the top of my 10-page paper. Yeah. And the last 3 sentences say, if you read this entire thing, you do not have to actually do this. And if you turn a paper in, you are going to get an F.
Oh, no.
And all because I didn't pay attention to the small details. Right. And when you're hiring, you've got to pay attention to those small details. The email formats, the phone numbers, the van versus the flatbed, right? All those little things come into play, and you've got to pay attention to those or they'll get you.
Yeah. And it's not just the carrier's information. It's also the shippers, the information that they're sending you as well. And make sure you're reading the notes.
Oh, man.
The type of trailer you need, the length, the weight, right?
The close time.
Exactly.
For the love of God.
So there's lots that needs to be put into it. Don't be like Jared and I where we're just, let's get it done. Let's get it over with.
Take your time, slow down, read the details because these guys are good. The fraud guys are good.
They're thinking of everything.
They are thinking of everything. They want to see you slip up. So I had a van frame snap while hauling coils as well. I was actually talking about you, to be honest with you, Ryan.
That was you.
I love that Ryan's on. It's good to see you, man. I hope the world's good for you, man. So that's funny. I was just thinking about
That's awesome.
yeah, him.
Fun
So
stuff.
the other question that I got yesterday was this was in shippers, and he was talking about, he's like, hey, can you walk me through how the pictures work and what they are? And so I wanted you to just walk through, finding shippers. We have a lot of data on this on this page, a lot of information, right?
Right.
And just so you know, here's what he does. He was a 40-foot gooseneck guy.
Okay.
He likes to be in the Texas area, and he kept going into search by location and things like that.
Up here, yeah.
But I was like, well, just use the pictures, click on those, and walk through them. And so that's what I wanted you to talk about.
Yeah, so these pictures are just a faster way. If you simply know what you're getting into right away, these pictures can help you.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you said he's coming up here.
Yeah.
And you can easily just start opening or
this,
using those.
This already clicks into the filter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It'll click right into there, and then you put in your location. Now, remember, we're still finding shippers, so we'll let you know flatbed shippers.
I love that.
And then search.
Yeah.
Right. And you can easily still switch from types of equipment up here on the left. But I see where you're going. Just kind of speeds up your search. We're trying to get more, user friendly. So that was one way of us doing.
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it works fairly well. He mentioned that he was going to purchase a CRM. I said, I don't know if you need to yet.
Right.
This guy's fairly new. He was 3 months in. He had 2 clients from past relationships.
Okay.
Love that. And he said, here's what I'm trying to accomplish, but fairly new. He's had his authority for about a year-ish.
That's fair.
And he gets his loads off load boards, but he has those 2 guys that he's always trying to get back to make sure that he's getting those rates, because those rates are more beneficial to him than he's seeing off the boards. Right. Okay. He's also concerned with getting freight off the boards, where he's like, well, is this real? Am I the carrier involved in the double brokering? Right. So if you're a carrier out there, make sure you're vetting. Make sure that you're, is this brokerage have credit? Make if you've got a factoring company, which a majority of carriers do, make sure that they think it's okay, as well. Right.
I agree. And yeah, I'm not sure what that guy's name is, but if he's watching, we do have that ability to help you stay organized. So you'll see that ribbon, Eric. Eric, here, we'll keep you organized, man. Cold call customer.
Walk us through that, because what's that really mean? So what's a to-do?
So to-do is going to simply say, okay, well, I need to, maybe you call a shipper and Sam's not there, but maybe you need to call back tomorrow at noon because he is there, whatever. Okay. Right? Yeah. Mark it as a to-do, and not only mark it as a to-do, but set a reminder.
Oh, I love that.
Hey, Nate, you need to call Sam in shipping tomorrow, at noon.
And then they can get emails, texts, or calls, sent right to them.
Yep. And you can do that all in your settings, and I can show you that here in a second. So reminders.
Yep.
Mark as a to-do. And when you do that, leave your notes here, right? So notes go here, save it, and we'll show you.
Boom. Oh, I like that.
Boom.
I like that.
And here's actually an addition I'm going to add here, because squirrel, right? But if you have a team under you, this is good to have. So you understand, okay, Nate's working on this lead. I'm going to step away.
Yeah.
So that's another thing why I love this.
Absolutely.
Notes, we just mark that as to do. We'll put that in the list for you, and I'll show you where those go. Maybe it's a cold lead, right?
Yeah. What is a cold lead?
Maybe you get a name. Maybe you get an email. Maybe they want you to send your contact, or not your contact, but things about your company. Yeah.
Yeah. I would even consider a cold lead as they just said they don't work with brokers, and you're kind of out. And the reason why I think this is really important, because at a certain point, let's just say the note doesn't work with brokers, right? What I recommend doing with, these past, or cold ones, is come back once a month and try to, you didn't provide enough value, right? They're good. Sometimes they're in contracts, but you didn't provide enough value. You know what I mean? Right. And so I think it's important to come back and notate that, hey, I'm going to come back in 30 days. I'm going to send a text for 30 days from now to come to me and say, hey, call this cat. Right. Yeah.
No, I love that. And so, yeah, we'll have that reminder for you so you can do what Jared just mentioned. But essentially, here's all, to do, pass, customer, right? And then where you go and find those, under our notes and list, under the shipper tab, right? We're talking shippers, and then boom. here's all my cold leads, my current customers, right?
I love that.
So
I love that. Easy to sort, easy to work. You can obviously write notes in there. There's a lot that you can kind of play with in that aspect. So I know that guy was, very frugal in his spending with software. He's got a TMS, and now he has a TMS, but he has eCarrierCheck, and then he doesn't have to buy a CRM.
CRM. Nice. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, good for him, and I wish the best for him.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, to check in with him 6 months from now. See
how
he's doing, so.
It's always nice when we hear how people are. Let's see what Tire Killer says. Not all flatbed trailers are good for coils. They need to have a coil package, which means there's extra bracing in the center area of the frame. Yeah, boy, that's the truth. People don't realize that. You know what I mean? This is why I think it's so important that you look for carriers that are good at hauling what you need. Right. Or at least understand it better. They've had that experience, not just a guy that's like, well, I can haul 47,000 pounds.
Right.
Well, can you haul 47,000 pounds in 8 foot of your truck?
Right.
Some of those coils, it's just one friggin' coil on the middle of the trailer, and it's like, cool. That's a big deal. It's important that you have the right fit.
I agree. Yeah, just run that search like we did earlier. Do a keyword and start calling. Pick up the phone. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love it.
Me too.
I love it.
Well, that's all I had for today, Jared.
Yep.
If there's any questions or Tyler Killer has some more value to provide us, I freaking love him.
I do too.
He provides a lot of value for carriers out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, I hope you have a great rest of your week. We're off this Friday, but please have a great week. Keep grinding. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep coming to the show. We're going to try to educate you and hopefully support you in any way we can. So have a great day, guys.
See you.
Talk later.